What if I told you that just 12 minutes a day could completely rewire your brain, sharpen your focus, dissolve your stress, and unlock a version of you that you haven't even met yet? I know that sounds impossible. 12 minutes. You spend more time scrolling your phone before breakfast. But listen closely, because what I'm about to share isn't theory. It's not motivation, it's science, and it's transformation. Neuroscientists have discovered something incredible. Your brain isn't fixed. It's not a machine set in stone. It's a living, breathing, changing organism that rebuilds itself every single day based on what you feed it, what you focus on, and what you feel. Every thought, every emotion, every action is wiring your future. And most people don't even realize they're programming their mind for stress, distraction, and self-doubt. But you're here for something different. You're here because deep down, you know you're meant for more clarity, more confidence, more control over your life. And today, I'm going to show you one simple 12-minute daily habit that will completely transform the way your brain thinks, feels, performs, no matter who you are, no matter where you're starting from. So I want to make you a promise. If you give me your full attention for the next few minutes, if you really listen, you won't just learn about this habit, you'll walk out of here with a new level of power over your mind, your emotions, and your life. Because when you train your brain, your life will never be the same again. You know, people often believe that transformation requires massive effort, that to change your life, you have to move mountains, quit your job, travel to a monastery, reinvent everything overnight. But that's not how the brain works. Change doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. It comes from one small ritual repeated every single day with intention and emotion. See, your brain is like a muscle. And just like your body, it grows and strengthens in response to how you train it. Most people don't train their brain. They drift through the day reacting instead of creating. They wake up and the first thing they do is check messages, emails, news feeds, and in those first few minutes, they've already surrendered their focus, their peace, their power. But what if instead of letting the world program you, you decided to program your own mind consciously, deliberately, every single morning? Because when you take 12 minutes to train your focus, your breath, your thoughts, you're literally sculpting your brain to work for you instead of against you. Let me tell you something fascinating. Neuroscientists have found that when you engage your mind with deliberate attention, even for a short period, you activate something called neuroplasticity. That's your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. Think about that. Every single day, your brain is wiring and rewiring itself based on what you consistently focus on. If your focus is on stress, worry, fear, you're building stronger neural pathways for stress, worry, and fear. If your focus is on gratitude, strength, possibility, you're building pathways for clarity, resilience, and confidence. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's repetition. Your brain becomes what you practice. Now, the problem is people don't realize they already have habits shaping their brain, habits of thought, habits of reaction, habits of emotion. The question isn't whether you have habits. The question is, are your habits empowering you or enslaving you? That's where this 12-minute ritual comes in. It's not just about meditation or breathing, though it can include that. It's about taking ownership of the most valuable real estate on the planet, the space between your ears. For 12 minutes, you train yourself to focus your energy, to slow your mind, to connect with your highest intention. You breathe deeply, because when you control your breath, you calm your nervous system. You visualize who you want to become, because when you see it in your mind, your brain starts believing it's real. You repeat empowering thoughts, not as empty affirmations, but as commands to your subconscious. When you do this daily, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel different. The noise in your head quiets. The fog starts to lift. Decisions become easier. Emotions become clearer. You begin to live from a place of choice instead of reaction. And that's the key, because the truth is your entire life is shaped by the state of mind you live in most often. If you wake up every morning feeling overwhelmed, anxious, rushed, your brain learns that state. It becomes your default setting. But if you wake up for 12 minutes, you tune your brain into gratitude, focus, and calm. You're teaching your brain that this is who you are. You're telling your mind, I'm in charge. I decide how I feel. I decide how I show up today. It's like sharpening an axe before cutting down a tree. You can spend the whole day swinging, exhausted and frustrated. You can spend 12 minutes sharpening your edge, and the rest of your day flows with power and precision. Now I can almost hear some of you thinking, 12 minutes can't make that big a difference. Let me challenge that. If 12 minutes of focus could give you 12 hours of clarity, what if 12 minutes of stillness could help you handle 12 months of chaos with grace? What if 12 minutes of intention every morning could give you 12 years of a better, stronger, more fulfilled life? That's the compound effect of small, consistent actions. That's how real transformation works. Not in giant leaps, but in steady daily alignment. Because when you repeat something with emotion and purpose, brain begins to believe it's your truth. It's like programming a new operating system. The old patterns, stress, self-doubt, distraction, begin to fade. And a new pattern, clarity, focus, power, takes root. The beauty of this is anyone can do it. You don't need money. You don't need equipment. You don't need to move to a mountaintop. All you need is 12 minutes and a decision. The decision to take command of your mind before the world does. Because here's the truth. If you don't train your mind every day, the world will train it for you. And the world's training is chaos. The world's training is fear. The world's training is noise. So take those 12 minutes, guard them fiercely, make them sacred, because that small window of focus will become your foundation of power. And when you do, when you commit to this one simple daily ritual, you'll look back and realize something profound. The life you've always wanted didn't require a miracle. It just required 12 minutes of intention, repeated every single day. Pause, you let the silence hang then with conviction, and that is the power of one simple habit. When you start practicing this 12-minute habit, something fascinating begins to happen inside you. It's not just that you feel calmer or more focused, though you will. It's deeper than that. You begin to notice the world around you changing. The same situations that used to trigger stress or frustration start to feel lighter. Conversations that once drained you now roll off your shoulders. You start responding instead of reacting, and it feels like magic, but it's not magic. It's your brain literally rewiring itself to create a new version of your reality. Most people live their entire lives believing the world they see is the world as it is, but it's not. It's the world filtered through their mind. Every experience, every moment, every feeling is interpreted through the patterns you've built in your brain over time. If you've trained your mind to look for what's wrong, that's what you'll find. If you've trained it to expect stress, it will create it. When you begin to train your mind for clarity, gratitude, and focus, the same world suddenly looks completely different. Think about this. Your brain is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to keep you safe. For thousands of years, it's been wired to spot threats, to protect you, to focus on what could go wrong. That's why negativity is automatic and positivity is intentional. So when you take just 12 minutes to consciously direct your focus, you're overriding millions of years of conditioning. You're saying to your brain, I'm not here to survive anymore. I'm here to thrive. And that's where everything shifts. Because when you change the way your brain fires, you change the way you feel, the way you think, and the way you act. And when your actions change, your results change. That's the chain reaction of transformation. You see, the moment you start controlling your internal world, external world begins to follow. You can't create a new life with the same old patterns of thought. If your mind is full of chaos, your life will reflect that chaos. But when your mind becomes clear, your world becomes organized, purposeful. It's like tuning a radio. The station was always there. Success, peace, joy, clarity. But you couldn't hear it through the static of your old programming. This 12-minute ritual is you turn in the dial. You're finding the right frequency. And once you lock onto that channel, everything in your life starts to resonate with it. Let me share something real with you. Your thoughts are not just ideas floating around in your head. Electrical signals firing between billions of neurons creating pathways. The more you think a certain thought, the stronger that pathway becomes. Think, I'm not enough for years, and that neural connection becomes like a highway. Think, I can handle this. I'm capable. I'm growing every morning, and you start paving a new road, one that leads to power, confidence, and peace. And here's the beauty. Your brain doesn't care whether something is true or false. It only cares about repetition and emotion. Whatever you repeat with feeling, it takes as real. That's why when you focus on fear, your body reacts as if danger is real, even if you're just sitting at your desk. But the same principle can set you free. When you repeatedly visualize success, when you imagine calm, when you feel gratitude deeply, your brain believes it's happening now. It fires the same neurons, releases the same chemicals. It begins to live in that reality before it physically arrives. That's how people achieve breakthroughs. They don't wait for their life to change so they can feel different. They feel different first, then their life changes. Now, the challenge is most people try to change the outside, their job, their relationship, their circumstances, without ever changing the wiring inside. It's like trying to change the image on a movie screen by scratching the surface instead of changing the film in the projector. Your brain is the projector. Your life is the screen. If you don't change the film, the same story keeps playing, just with different characters and settings. But the moment you begin training your mind intentionally, you take back that control. You're no longer a victim of circumstance. You become the author of your experience. You start to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You begin to attract people, ideas, and energy that align with the new frequency you're operating on. Because the world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. So if you've been living with anxiety, overwhelm, or self-doubt, it's not a life sentence. It's a pattern, and patterns can be changed. Every time you sit down for those 12 minutes, you're literally reshaping your brain, breaking old loops, teaching your nervous system a new rhythm. It's the daily decision to stop being run by fear and start being guided by focus. And when you do this consistently, something extraordinary happens. You no longer have to force confidence. It becomes who you are. You no longer chase peace. You live in it. You don't struggle to stay positive. Your brain naturally goes there because you've rewired your operating system, and now your mind and reality are working together, not against each other. That's the secret. The world doesn't change first. You do. And when you do, everything around you begins to shift with you. A pause Then with intensity and warmth, rewire your brain, and you'll watch your entire reality transform before your eyes. When you start to rewire your brain, you begin to notice something incredible. Your focus sharpens. You start to see what truly matters. Noise begins to fade, and suddenly you're aware of just how distracted the world has become. Everywhere you look, something is fighting for your attention. Your phone notifications, endless scrolling, constant comparison. Most people don't even realize it, but their attention has become the most valuable currency they have, and they're given away for free. We live in an age where the most successful people aren't the smartest. They're the most focused. Because in a world of chaos and distraction, focus is the new superpower. When you can control your focus, you can control your state, your energy, your destiny. You can take the same 24 hours everyone else has and multiply their results tenfold, not because you work harder, but because you're not wasting energy on what doesn't matter. See, focus is like light. When it's scattered, it's harmless, but when it's concentrated, it becomes a laser, powerful enough to cut through steel. The same is true of your mind. Most people scatter their focus in 1,000 directions, worrying about what others think, replaying the past, fearing the future, and then they wonder why they feel powerless. But when you train your brain to focus on one thing, one goal, one habit, one purpose, you become unstoppable. The 12-minute brain habit you've been practicing is your training ground. Every time you quiet your mind and bring it back to the present moment, you're strengthening your mental muscle. You're teaching your brain that you are in charge. You decide where your attention goes. And the more you do this, the more power you gain, because focus creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. Think about this: whatever you focus on, you feel. Focus on what's missing, you'll feel lack. Focus on what you have, and you'll feel abundance. Focus on fear, and you'll find more reasons to be afraid. Focus on gratitude, and your entire nervous system begins to calm, to expand, to open up to possibility. That's how powerful focus is. It shapes not just your mind, but your emotions, your energy, your entire experience of life. Now, let's be real. Focus doesn't come naturally anymore. We're being trained to be distracted. Every ping, every vibration, every headline is designed to hijack our brain's dopamine system, to keep us chasing tiny bursts of stimulation. And the cost of that is enormous, because when your focus is fractured, your potential is too. You can't create deep joy, deep relationships, or deep success with a scattered mind. You can only skim the surface of life. But when you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your life. You begin to operate with clarity. You start your day with intention instead of reaction. You stop letting the world decide your mood, your thoughts, your priorities. You start moving through life with a sense of grounded certainty, because your attention, your energy is aligned with your purpose. Something beautiful happens when that alignment kicks in. You stop chasing fulfillment and start living it, because focus creates depth. When you focus on one thing long enough, you grow it, you strengthen it, you expand it. That's true for love, business, for health, for happiness. Whatever you feed with focus grows. Whatever you starve of attention fades. You want to feel more confident. Focus on what you're doing right, not what you're doing wrong. You want more peace. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't. You want more success. Focus on progress, not perfection. That's how transformation compounds. And here's the truth. You don't need to do 100 things to change your life. You need to do one thing with absolute focus, because mastery isn't about doing more. It's about going deeper. The world rewards people who can go deep. Deep focus creates mastery. Mastery creates confidence. Confidence creates freedom. Let me tell you something. Focus is not a skill you have. It's a skill you train. Every time your mind wanders and you bring it back, you're building strength. Just like lifting weights, those little repetitions are what make you mentally powerful. Most people quit when their mind drifts, but that's when the real growth happens. Every time you bring yourself back, you're saying, no, I decide what matters. I decide where my energy goes. And over time, that focus starts to spill over into everything you do. You'll find yourself more present in conversations, more creative in your work, more peaceful in chaos. You'll stop being pulled in 1,000 directions, because your inner compass will be clear. You'll know what matters, and you'll have the energy to pursue it fully. That's when life starts to feel different. You're not reacting anymore. You're responding. You're not chasing. You're creating. You're not scattered. You're centered. And people will notice it. They'll feel it in your presence. Because when someone has true focus, there's a calm, grounded power about them. They don't need to prove anything. They just are. That's what this habit is building inside you. Not just focus, but presence. The ability to direct your mind wherever you choose, to live fully in each moment, and to channel all that energy into creating something extraordinary. Because in the end, your life is a reflection of where your focus has been. Focus on what drains you, and you'll live exhausted. Focus on what empowers you, and you'll live fulfilled. The choice is yours. Every single day, every single minute. Pause the lower tone slightly, build intensity, guard your focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. When your focus starts to strengthen, something powerful begins to unfold inside you. You start to realize that you're not just the thinker of your thoughts, you're the feeler of your emotions. And once you can direct your focus, you can begin to master your emotions. Because your emotions are nothing more than energy in motion, shaped by what you focus on and what meaning you attach to it. Most people live as if their emotions are in control, like they're passengers in a car driven by fear, frustration, or stress. Moment they're inspired, the next they're angry, the next they're hopeless. And they tell themselves, that's just how I feel. But the truth is, emotions don't just happen to you. They're created by you. They are signals, sentences, they are teachers, not tyrants. And when you understand how to train your mind, you realize you can choose your emotional state just like you choose a song on your playlist. The 12-minute brain habit you've been practicing, that stillness, that focus, that awareness, it's not just building your concentration, it's training your emotional intelligence. It's helping you pause before you react. It's giving you the space to feel without being consumed by the feeling. It's teaching you to notice when your emotions are steering you off course and to gently take the wheel back. You see, emotional mastery doesn't mean you never feel fear, anger, or sadness again. It means you stop being run by them. It means when anger rises, you don't lash out. You breathe, you feel it, you learn from it. You use it as energy for clarity, for growth, for truth. When fear shows up, you don't shrink. You recognize it as your nervous system trying to protect you. You think it, and then you move forward anyway. That's power. That's freedom. The ability to feel everything and still choose your response. Science tells us that emotions are chemical storms in the body, lasts about 90 seconds unless you feed it with your thoughts. 90 seconds. That's it. After that, it's your mind that keeps it alive by replaying the story, by feeding the meaning. You think the emotion is controlling you, but really your focus is controlling it. So what this habit does is it breaks that loop. It interrupts the story. It reminds your brain, wait, I don't have to live in this emotion. I can shift. I can breathe. I can move. When you train your mind every day, strengthening the neural circuits that keep you calm and centered even when life gets messy, you begin to live from a place of grounded power instead of constant reactivity. And that's not just good for your mental health. That's leadership. Because when you can stay calm in the storm, you become the anchor for others. Think about how most people handle stress. They explode, they shut down, they numb themselves with distractions. That's because they never learned how to regulate what's happening inside them. They try to control the outside world because they can't control their inner world. But once you master your emotions, you no longer need to control everything around you. You realize you can be centered in the middle of chaos. You can be peaceful even when things don't go your way. And from that place of peace, you make better decisions. You communicate with strength. You lead with compassion. You love without fear. You see, emotion is energy, and energy can either destroy you or fuel you. It's not about avoiding emotion. It's about using it intelligently. When you're angry, channel that energy into action. You're scared, let it sharpen your focus. When you're sad, let it remind you of what truly matters. When you're grateful, amplify it until your whole body vibrates with appreciation. That's emotional mastery. Transforming emotion into motion, pain into purpose, fear into fuel. And it all begins with awareness. Catching yourself in the moment, noticing the feeling without judgment. That's what those 12 minutes train you to do. It's like strengthening a muscle of mindfulness. So when life throws you off balance, you can come back to center faster and faster each time. Eventually, you realize that no one and nothing outside of you can dictate how you feel. Not your boss, not your partner, not your circumstances. Because your emotions are not reactions to life. They are creations of your focus, your meaning, your physiology. You own them. And when you own your emotions, you own your life. When you reach that level of mastery, your energy changes. People feel it. There's a peace in you that can't be shaken, a presence that can't be ignored. You become the calm in other people's storms. You walk into chaos, and instead of being consumed by it, you transform it because your emotional state is no longer fragile. It's trained, it's intentional, it's powerful. And that's the beauty of this practice. It's not just rewiring your brain for focus or success. It's rewiring it for emotional freedom. The kind of freedom where you can experience everything life has to offer, but nothing owns you. So pause, lower your voice, let it sink in, master your emotions, and nothing outside you will ever have power over you again. When you begin mastering your emotions, something even more profound starts to happen. Your identity begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's trying to change, and you start seeing yourself as someone who's already changing. You're no longer fighting for transformation, you're living it, because true transformation doesn't start when you change your behavior. It starts when you change your identity. Every action you take, every thought you think, every emotion you experience, they all reinforce who you believe you are. If your identity says, I'm anxious, you'll find ways to feel anxious. If your identity says, I'm disciplined, you'll act with discipline. Your brain is always trying to stay consistent with who it believes you are. That's why habits can be so hard to change, because most people are trying to act differently while still seeing themselves as the same person. But here's the truth. The moment you shift your identity, your habits naturally follow. You see yourself as the architect of your mind instead of a victim of your thoughts. Everything changes. You stop asking, how do I fix myself? And you start declaring, this is who I choose to become. That's the shift that separates temporary motivation from lasting transformation. Think about it. Every great change in history, personal or collective, began with a new identity. Someone decided to stop living as the old version of themselves. They said, enough. And from that moment, their entire world began to reorganize around that new standard. The same thing happens in your brain. You practice the 12-minute habit daily. You're not just calming your mind or focusing your energy. You're casting votes for a new identity. Every session whispers to your subconscious, this is who I am now. I am the kind of person who trains my mind. I am the kind of person who lives intentionally. That repetition matters because the brain learns through repetition and emotion. The more you repeat a behavior with purpose, the more your brain says, this must be who we are. And soon what once felt like effort becomes natural. You no longer try to be focused, you just are. You no longer try to stay calm. It's automatic. That's the power of identity. It turns conscious effort into subconscious pattern. And here's the thing most people miss. Identity is a choice. You weren't born with your current self-image. You built it. You learned it. You absorbed it from your environment, your experiences, your conditioning. Once you can unlearn it, rewrite it, and rebuild it. You can decide today who you want to be. Not someday. Not when things get easier. Right now. When you decide, I am the kind of person who takes charge of my mind, your brain starts to align with that command. When you decide, I am calm, I am focused, I am resilient, your nervous system starts adapting to that truth, begins to mirror it back to you. Because life doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are being. So many people get stuck because they keep chasing new results with the same old identity. They say, I want to be confident, but their inner story still says, I'm not enough. They say, I want to be successful, but they keep identifying as the person who fails. You can't create a new outcome while holding on to the same self-image. It's like trying to plant new seeds in soil that's already filled with weeds. You've got to clear the ground mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and then plant a new identity. And here's what's beautiful. You don't need to have it all figured out before you claim it. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. Identity isn't earned. It's decided. You start by saying, this is who I am becoming, and then you live into it one day at a time. Your brain will catch up. Your emotions will align. Your habits will follow. Every single morning when you sit down for those 12 minutes, you're not just practicing a habit. You're practicing becoming the person you were meant to be. You're reinforcing your new identity with every breath, every moment of focus, every visualization. You're building evidence for your future self. And the more evidence you build, the stronger that identity becomes. You stop questioning your worth. You stop negotiating with your potential. You stop living from memory and start living from imagination, from the vision of who you are becoming instead of the history of who you've been. That's when life feels different. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You feel a sense of ownership, a sense of grounded confidence, not because everything outside you has changed, but because you have. You've shifted from reacting to creating, from surviving to leading, wishing to being. And when that happens, you don't just inspire yourself, you inspire everyone around you. People feel that strength. They feel that certainty. Because a person who knows who they are doesn't need to convince anyone. Their energy speaks louder than words. This is the ultimate power of this 12-minute brain habit. It's not just changing how you think. It's changing who you believe you are. You're not a bystander in your own mind anymore. You're the architect. You design it. You shape it. You own it. And when you own your identity, your entire life begins to rise to meet it. Pause then with conviction and calm power. The moment you decide who you truly are is the moment your new life begins. When you shift your identity, the world around you starts to shift too. It's almost mysterious at first. The same people, same circumstances, the same challenges, yet somehow everything feels lighter. Doors begin to open, conversations go differently, you handle situations that used to drain you with ease. It's not because the world suddenly got easier. It's because you did. You changed the energy you bring to it. You changed the meaning you give it. You changed the way you show up. Because once you transform your mind, everything else follows. Relationships, your work, your health, your happiness, they all begin to reflect the new you. That's the ripple effect of transformation. When you train your brain, you don't just change your inner world, you change the frequency you broadcast to everyone and everything around you. Think about it. Every interaction you have, every word you speak, every choice you make sends out a signal. And that signal comes from the state you're in. Your mind is cluttered with stress or fear. Your energy carries that. But when your mind is calm, focused, and clear, that peace radiates outward. People feel it. You walk into a room and the energy shifts. Not because you said something, because of who you've become. That's the real power of this 12-minute habit. It's not just about your own growth. It's about becoming a source of strength and inspiration for others. When you master your focus, your emotions, your identity, you start to lead by example without even trying. You become a mirror that shows others what's possible for them. And that's how real change spreads, not by preaching, but by embodying. You begin to live from a higher state of mind. You stop reacting to life and start influencing it. You start to notice that the same problems that used to feel like mountains now look like pebbles. The same conflicts that once consumed your energy now dissolve with understanding. You start to attract people who resonate with your new energy, people who support your growth, who challenge you, who rise with you. That's the ripple effect. Here's what's truly beautiful when you change yourself. You give others permission to change too. You show them that it's possible to live without being controlled by stress, fear, or anger. You show them that power doesn't come from force, it comes from alignment. You become the example that transformation is real, that peace is possible, that joy isn't reserved for the lucky. It's built by those who train their minds to see life differently. It starts small. Maybe someone notices how calm you stay under pressure or how present you are in conversation, how you no longer get thrown off by things that used to bother you. And they wonder what changed, and that question, that curiosity, becomes the spark for their own transformation. That's how one person's habit becomes another person's hope. See, this isn't just about you living a better life. It's about you becoming a force for good. Because when your mind is clear, your heart opens. You start giving more, loving more, contributing more. You stop waiting for the world to change and realize you are the world's change. You stop looking for inspiration and start being it. And that's the kind of power that doesn't just create success. It creates legacy. Your 12-minute habit is more than a morning routine. It's an act of service. Because every time you center yourself, you bring more peace in the collective energy of the world. Every time you choose focus over distraction, calm over chaos, gratitude over complaint, you're adding to the ripple of transformation that's desperately needed in our world today. Imagine if more people did this. Imagine if every person took 12 minutes each day to train their mind, to quiet their fears, to strengthen their spirit. Can you imagine what our world would feel like? More compassion, more clarity, more connection. It starts with one person, and that person is you. Because when you transform your mind, you don't just change your life. You elevate the lives of everyone who crosses your path. Your children feel it. Your partner feels it. Your friends feel it. Your coworkers feel it. Even strangers who barely know you can sense it. That presence, that calm, that certainty, it's contagious. It spreads without words, and it begins to create a new kind of momentum, one that expands far beyond you. So when you sit down tomorrow for those 12 minutes, you're not just building a habit. You're building a legacy of energy that will outlive you. You're training your mind not only for your success, but for the light you'll bring into other people's darkness. That's the gift. That's the ripple. This is how you transform your world from the inside out. Because the world around you is nothing but a mirror reflecting what's happening within you. When you upgrade your inner world, the reflection shifts. That's why the most powerful way to change your life is to start with your mind, because that's where every transformation begins. Pause a slow, grounded tone and transform your mind, and you'll transform everything your life touches.